All right, welcome back to the Chad Hart YouTube channel. Today we're going to do something different, where I'm going to be interviewing my best friend of all people, K-Dawg. He has a very extreme betrayal story that I think all you young men out there need to know. And for backstory, man, we've known each other probably since 2011, 2012.
Yep.
We go way back then. We live right down the road from each other. So pretty much nobody knows me better than K-Dawg and vice versa. So, K-Dawg, please share your story with us.
Okay. First of all, I do watch the videos.
Okay.
And I actually enjoy them. I do. I think I want people to also know that your videos aren't women bashing videos, and some of those comments it seemed like there are people who think that that's what they are, but they're not. They're actually a warning, just kind of to me letting men sort of have second thoughts.
Absolutely.
Before diving into a relationship. So, but yeah, I met her in I want to say 2004, 2005.
Okay.
And it's kind of started off like it probably wasn't gonna last.
As I recall, wasn't it a supposed friend or something who matched you up together, or was that somebody else?
No, that was actually me.
Oh,
I actually
okay.
met her. She used to work at a meat store.
Okay.
And I used to go in there, and I noticed her, and so one day I just decided to go up and get her number, and she gave it to me.
Okay.
And maybe a couple days later, she came over, and we talked, and but we ended up having sex right that day.
Okay.
That day, and that also is to me a big mistake. Because one night trying to make a relationship out of a one night stand, those things never last. And because you if you move in with her or she moves in with you, you're getting to know each other while you're in the relationship. And to me, those things never work.
You're 100% right. I can say that from my last relationship and actually my first relationship. It was excuse me. It was a sexual relationship that I just tried to turn long term, and like you say, brother, it doesn't work.
Yeah. So
I got to ask you this though.
Okay.
Were there quote unquote warning signs from the beginning?
Yes, it was. Like for example, she would leave every once in a while. She'd leave, and there are days where she would stay gone for like 2 or 3 days
At a time?
Yeah, and would tell me that she was either stranded or she was somewhere and just lost track of time. I mean, for days.
And this happened often?
Yeah, and so she had like her parents had died, years prior to us meeting.
Okay.
So she had like a mother-like figure, and the mother-like figure would come over and explain to me, there was a misunderstanding, those type of, something like that. So I'd fall back into it, and I end up, continuing, to deal with her.
Mm-hmm.
But this mother-like figure would always sort of intervene on her behalf to tell me, she loves you, she really loves you. You stay gone, you're at your job, you working every day, and she was around the house, she's bored.
So the mother figure covered for her, pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay. Did anybody warn you to avoid her?
Yes. My friend, my best friend, my best friend Stacy, he did.
Just plain language, she ain't no good.
Yeah, because his girlfriend also worked at that same meat store.
Really?
And in fact, his girlfriend and my ex were cousins.
Huh.
So I recall I called him the day before she came over for the first time. I called him and asked, "Well, do you know her?" And right off the get-go, he said, "Yeah." He said, "Stay away from her, man. She's a user, man. I mean, she's no good."
Wow.
And so, but I
He didn't mince words, huh?
Yeah, he told me right from Jumpstart.
A true friend, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the follow-up question is, were they right? Yeah, it sounded like he was right.
Yes.
All right. This is kind of like the first question, but did anything off when the relationship started?
Did anything seem off? Yeah. Yeah. I,
I'm sure as the relationship progressed, you could see it, but at the very beginning, was anything like, I don't know about this. This don't seem right.
yeah. Yeah. We had sex the first time I met her. I mean, when
That night,
she came
huh?
over, and just like that, I knew that it was just awesome.
Well, you either got mad game or she's loose.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
was there like a gut instinct? Oh man, I don't know if I should do this kind of thing.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
All right. How was the overall satisfaction of the relationship as it progressed? Did it just keep getting worse and worse?
It got worse.
It never got better. It just kept getting worse and worse.
Yeah, because we'd argue a lot, and arguments, it lasts all the way. At night it lasts all the way up until the morning.
For real?
Yeah, and it got really, really bad towards the end. But she also stayed gone for days. As it got towards the end.
That kind of sounds like my marriage.
Yeah.
It's funny, I can laugh about that now. It wasn't cool at the time.
Yeah, yeah.
So, looking back on it now, what would you have done differently?
I wouldn't have gotten that relationship, not with her.
Just
once I know her character, no.
No, I see. What is the biggest mistake out of the whole ordeal? I know there's probably a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Probably can't narrow it down to one.
Yeah, because it's so much stuff
All right.
happened.
Have you repeated the same mistake since then?
Yes, I did once, and that one, that's a story for another day. But
okay,
that was actually worse.
I know who you're talking about, and that, no ill to you, because I repeated the same mistake when I got married. It was again trying to turn a sexual relationship into a long term, and I'm telling you fellas, it never works.
Nah, and for me, they can be really convincing. There was a time I was going to break up with her, and because I was getting ready to move into an apartment, and she begged me. It was one of those moments where she stayed gone. She told me that she was going to go to the store, and she never came home. So then she came in. I said, "That's it. I'm done." And she actually got on her knees and begged me to try to make it work. And they can be convincing like that.
Yeah, as you're telling me your story, like I've heard it before, but not in depth, and I can see reflections of that miserable marriage I was in. Because one time, as in 2018, I was like, I had enough of this crap, I'm gone. And I was literally going to leave my house and go move back in with my mom. And she literally grabbed my ankle and, no, don't go, I need you, and crying. And like you said, it can be very convincing.
Yeah, because I heard it all. Her saying, I'm the best thing that ever
Standard
happened
lines,
to her.
right?
Crying and, and so then
you're God's gift to her too and all that.
Yeah, that she was nothing without me type deal,
All right, so when you finally realized that she, quote, belonged to the streets, what did that do to you?
At first I didn't want to.
It hurts, don't it, man?
And I didn't want to kind of accept it at first. Because for a while I would call and hoping to kind of fix things, because I didn't want to accept the fact that it was that far gone. Even with all of the cheating that she was doing, I still was the reason my mind couldn't accept it. So, I tried to, talk to her, call, but she never would answer.
Yeah, no, man. How bad was the pain that she inflicted?
I was devastated.
Absolutely. No, guys who listen to the channel, we know, and like I said, we make these videos for the younger men who haven't got chewed up and spit out yet. So, like I said, man, she was ultimate betrayal. She was cheating with multiple men.
Yeah.
Not just one.
Yeah, including my friend. Well, one of my, homies. And But
Man, that's like a double betrayal then.
yeah. Now he knew her first.
Okay.
And so I got introduced to him through her. So he would come over, and then for a while, maybe for about a year, he stopped coming over. So then I asked her, why?
Yeah, what's up, bro?
Yeah, why don't he? So I asked her, why doesn't he come over anymore? And she was telling me, well, maybe he's busy and, this or that. But when he did come over, I noticed he never kept eye contact no more. And it made me wonder because I even asked her, is this dude like scared of me? I mean, what's his deal? I didn't find out till after.
After the fact.
Yeah, she had all that going on. In fact, she was mainly kind of with him, but then she met another guy at a gas.
So, from my experience, it sounds like she never stopped doing that. She just had you as a go-to guy.
Yeah, kind of like she would still do her thing with my so-called friend, and but then she met another guy at a gas station, and the guy just so happened to. We just moved into another apartment. We were sitting up there, and the phone rings, and she answered, and a guy picks up. I mean, the guy answers and say, "This is such and such," and she said, "Well, if you trying to get in contact with somebody else," and so then she hangs up, and I'm just thinking, that's just an odd phone call. I never was able to shake that. So then we got into an argument one night, and she drove off.
Okay.
And she was gone for about 4 or 5 days. I haven't heard anything. I even called the police and said that she was missing.
Huh.
But then but they said that but her being an adult, there's nothing they could do about it. So finally, but she left her cell phone behind.
Really?
Yeah, but she was on drugs though.
Oh.
So, but she left her cell phone behind and it rings, and when I answered it, it was this woman and said that I'm looking for, Larry. That's the guy she ran off with. And the moment I heard that, I just lost it. I just dropped the phone. I was a whole bunch. I was, just all messed up.
How long was this relationship with the woman? I don't think we covered that.
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah, 4 years. It seemed longer than that. But.
No, I'm sure if it's living in hell. But no, 4 years, man, that's longer than any relationship I've ever been in. So, in your opinion, is it better to have a companion in a bad relationship or to have no relationship?
No relationship.
No relationship. Yeah. I've always said that too. It's better to be in no relationship than a bad one. Because look, think about it. If you're in a bad relationship, you get out of it. Now you got to rebuild yourself back up to where you should have been before you can even meet anybody new.
Yeah. But there's peace by yourself.
Absolutely.
Those thoughts come. Well, I'd like to be in a relationship. And those things. And I feel like there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you.
It's a risk, though. Like we cover on this channel, it's a big risk.
It's a big risk.
It's
because the one thing, some women can be very convincing. The wrong women can be very convincing.
Yes.
And they really make you think that you're the only one. And they searched all over, and they came up specifically to see you. And,
yes.
It just does something to the ego.
It does. It strokes the male ego to where I've explained before where. The whore ex-wife, she didn't, I was just a useful idiot being used.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it was. And she could see that, apparently. It's like you want to believe the best in somebody. But at the same time, you got to have 1 foot grounded in reality.
Yeah, because I noticed that after the relationship, when it was done, I started asking myself a lot of questions. Asking did I look vulnerable? Did I look...
I bet you were like Batman being the ultimate detective.
Yeah, because then I started asking, did I look like an easy target? I mean, You
were just an available target.
Yeah, and, really convince you that you're the one that they've been looking for.
Yes. Okay, so how did this experience make you grow as far as your personal character is concerned?
Oh man. Well,
sounds like you had to grow.
Yeah. For me, I think I've reached a state, and I've told you this, a few years back. You like a cease not to care.
Yeah.
One day I just stopped caring. So when I do meet a woman I like, if it doesn't work out, I'm cool with it.
Like no pressure, no expectations, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I won't sit there and argue. I won't,
Good for you, man.
Yeah, because I was in a situation, another situation where it was okay relationship, but it didn't go right, so we ended up going our way.
Okay.
And I still was trying to make it work, so I called and she blocked my number and stuff. So finally, I had enough. So I said, "That's it. I'm done." I meant that. And once I was done, then she started calling.
Once you don't give a damn anymore, and the woman knows it, she knows it's up. She knows now she's got to do what you were doing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
No. And how many years has it been since you and her broke off, went your separate ways?
That was 2008.
All right.
Yep. A matter of fact, it was December 25th, and this is how this is how cruel she was. Even by then I already knew that she was she ran out with somebody else.
Uh-huh.
She called me New Year's Day and wished me Happy New Year's just to rub it in.
Really?
Yeah, then hung up.
Wow, that kind of reminds me of like when I was married. The whore ex-wife would do something, and then she'd leave and come back and act like nothing ever happened, and try to kind of, as they say, brush it under the rug.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, B-word, we got a lot of problems to work on, and you're acting like nothing's going on, kind of thing.
Yeah,
kind of like that.
And the other thing to it, maybe a couple months after she ran off, and she knew I knew about everything, about all of the being unfaithful and all of that. Not even 2 months, I used to get these phone calls late at night when no one's speaking on the other end. I go, hello, and they eventually hang up. And it was her. And then she would call and leave messages and would play songs that we used to, dance to and stuff like that. She'd play songs and then she'd hang up. And, but it's weird. Even though she ran off with someone else, I don't know, but there was the drugs though.
Yeah.
She felt bad or whatever her reasons were, but she would call back. She kept calling for months.
That's extremely odd, because usually when a woman burns a guy, he don't hear nothing from her. He just hears about it from the street. She's getting passed from guy to guy to guy.
Yep.
She, man, it's like, what do you think her motive was in calling you after the relationship was over? Was it to maybe just to rub your face in it, or perhaps there's an open door we could get together, or who knows? She's on drugs.
Because by then she was all messed up.
A woman on drugs, not much logic there.
Yeah, and because I also wanted to kind of stress too, is that her drug of choice was crack, and all of these things I found out later.
Okay.
And some people say that I should have knew, but she wasn't like what they call, it wasn't the typical crackhead. What they would call a functioning crackhead, because she had a job.
Okay.
She went to work every day. She didn't quit her job. She went to work every day.
I've heard of a functional alcoholic, but I've never heard of a functional crackhead, though.
Yeah. So there was nothing out the norm. She didn't lose a lot of weight. She ate every day. So
okay.
So it was kind of hard to tell for me, because I've never been around that. So I don't know what to look for.
Yeah, and most people who do that ain't gonna go broadcast, and that's what they're all about too.
Yeah, she did admit in the beginning of the relationship that she did use, use drugs, experimented with drugs, But I guess to her it went no further than that. Of course, after everything went like it did, my same friend who told me not to get with her said that him and his girlfriend said they don't believe that she necessarily quit all the way. They do believe she quit enough, and they do believe that at first she was trying to do the right thing. That's what they believe.
Okay.
But it just got away from her.
The main thing that sticks out about your story is how you said how you cracked her pattern. She left you and ran off with another guy, and then she left him and ran off with another guy, and left him and ran off with another guy. I'm sure she's still doing that today.
Same pattern. The same pattern. I know it's been at least 3 times since we broke up. I ran into her cousin, and it was the cousin that said, when she left this guy, and because I used to, I would go in the meat store every once in a while, and for some reason she'd always bring her up to me.
Even, like you cared, huh?
Yeah, years later, she's still, and I'm like, why? But yeah, so she would just keep repeating the pattern, just and then running off when she met with another guy.
No, that's I made a video like 2 videos ago about her pattern. Don't take it personal. She does it to everybody, and I think of your story where she ran off with another guy and ran off with another guy. The whore ex-wife did the same thing to me. She ran off with another guy. She used some guy to move out all my stuff out of my house, then dropped him and ran off with another guy, and then ran off with another guy, and I haven't heard since then, and I don't really care. But that's just how they are. All right. So do you have any final advice for young men out there listening who are contemplating getting, quote, into a relationship just for the sake of being in one?
I would suggest that they definitely have second thoughts and really, really, really get to know this woman.
Yeah.
Really get to know her.
I like your quote about how you get to know them before you get in the relationship with them. Don't get to know them while you're in a relationship with them.
Yeah, because it's the worst. For me, I noticed it was worse. I mean, because the constant arguing and just things about her that just horrible.
And I noticed too about not only past relationship of mine, but other people. Seems like they get along fine until they have sex. And after that, it seems like all they're doing is arguing, finding fault, bickering, complaining.
Yep.
It seems to just ruin it.
Yeah, now, also, too, something kind of told me that I had maybe a fear or whatever that she might be cheating when I go to work because we have one car between us.
Okay.
So when she went to work, she took the car and then she would take me to work so she can get around.
So she knew where you were at all times too, the one car.
Yeah. So I would wait for her to get out of work and then she would take me to work. And now this is what I find out afterwards. What she would tell me, because she would come home from her job at lunchtime, and we'd sit to eat lunch, or we just sit there and just talk whatever. But then all of a sudden, I didn't think about it until later. She all of a sudden she stopped. She said, "Well, I'm going to stay at work today. I'm not going to take my break." And I didn't find nothing out about it until later. It would come to find out that she was actually she actually rented hotel rooms, and she wasn't at work. She was at a hotel.
She's doing other kind of work. Huh?
Yeah. So then she would and then she would come home around the time when it's time for me to go to work, and then she'd go back.
And that ultimately cost you your apartment with her, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It did.
Because she was like using the money for other things rather than rent.
Yeah, because we had another mistake I made is we had a joint account. Never do that again.
You hear that, men? Don't ever do that.
Yeah. But yeah, so we had an arrangement where I would pay all the utilities, and and then put in my half as far as it comes to the rent.
Okay.
And so that would all go into the account, and then later, come to find out, she had stopped paying the rent for months. And I recall that the landlord had said that she stopped paying for months, but then all of a sudden she started paying. She started giving him just a little a little, but it was because I was just gonna stay there and just maintain it, get all her stuff out of there and just continue.
Push her out and keep going.
Yeah, but it was so it was just it cost so much to it was just way too much, so I couldn't even afford to stay there no more. So I lost my home. But the mistake I made is I let her. She had access to the joint account, and I should have never.
Live and learn there.
Yeah, and I should have been checking, but young didn't. I just didn't. Really.
Yeah, nobody teaches us these things. We unfortunately learn through hard experience. Like you lost your home. I damn near lost my home through the divorce. Like when I was in jail over false accusations, it just felt like my whole future was just dangling from one string. And this, psycho B word has the scissors that can cut it and destroy the rest of my life.
Oh, wow.
And it's kind of like a fifth column movement. The term fifth column means that the column's already inside the city. Because when I was married for 2.5 years, and we shared a home, and my home. And for some reason, I always had this fear, like I'd come home and my house would get broken into and my stuff would get stolen. I was looking for someone on the outside that would kick my door and steal my stuff. I never thought it was a fifth column within my own house who would put false accusations on me, put me out of my house, bring other men into my house, cheat on me in my own bed while I'm paying for it and can't even come here.
See, that's a hard thing, and I always wondered. I wondered if they had done like damage. I mean, psychological. I mean, because that's a hard thing to know that she's actually bringing other men in your house while you're unable to come to your house.
Yeah, and you know me, I don't hesitate to rip into somebody's ass.
Right.
I mean, so it was without a doubt the worst time of my life, but it wasn't, it was, her, she's a B word, she's a C word. No, I looked at me because I was half the problem too. I was the other person who signed that marriage contract, unfortunately. And when I did it, I didn't know it, but at the time I lifted up, after signing my name, all of my stuff already belonged to her at that point.
Okay.
Because what I'm saying is, men will say, they'll tell themselves this lie, it's cheaper to keep her. Well, you might as well give her your stuff. It belongs to her anyway, and then you can get on with your life.
Yeah, because I was, oddly enough, I was at work the other day, and I'm in the locker room. I'm getting ready to go home. And I overheard two other guys in the locker on the other side of me. And one guy says, well, what's his face? He married that whatever her name was. And do you know he actually signed his house over to her? And the other guy's like, no kidding. He's like, well, you know what? That's not his house no more. That's her house.
No, they're preaching the gospel.
Yeah, and I'm listening to this, and the guy says all she has to do is one day come home and say, well, I don't like you for that reason.
Yep.
And that's it. He gone. Now.
All she has to say is, I'm not happy, and the man's life is ruined. And the irony behind it is she's never happy. She wasn't happy before she got married.
See, because that's the thing I never understood. Say, especially when you are dealing with women who do cheat, I don't see how they. Because for me, I have a conscience, and so I just don't see how anyone could do that to anybody without no kind of guilt or remorse, and then come home to that person every day like nothing happened, no kind of guilt, or feel like they felt bad, just like. I just wonder if, like, those type of women, they never look at what the guy has doing, that he's out there working, that he's trying to make things, better for the both of them, and in exchange for that, she's unfaithful. I don't get it. I just wonder what goes through their mind when they're doing such things.
That's a very good question. It's my first girlfriend, I cheated on her, and I felt bad as hell about it, because like you said, you got a person who's loving you, looking towards you, to be honest with them, and so to be a serial cheater, I don't know how women can do it. Like you said, they sear their conscience. They well, then too, the woman will convince herself that the man she was married to or whatever is the worst human being on the planet. Therefore, it's okay for her to take his retirement or his house from him or keep his kids away from him. And then the thing about that, man, is when a vengeful woman keeps the kids away from their dad, the people who suffer are the kids. Mm-hmm. They suffer the most. I can't stand seeing that. I don't have kids myself, but when I hear stuff about abuse of kids or using them as pawns, I can't stand that stuff.
Yeah, man, I tell you, it goes on more often than not.
Yeah, unfortunately it does. All right, do you have any other things you'd like to share with the audience before we conclude this?
Well, I just say, just really, really get to know her. I mean,
And ask people who know her, right?
Yeah.
I've learned that too. Ask somebody.
Yeah, but, I keep going, I'll go back to that, my friend told me don't even get involved with her. He knew what type of person she was because his girlfriend at the time, her cousin, she actually cheated on my friend.
Really?
His girlfriend, and he always blamed my ex because they were tight like that.
I was just gonna bring that up. Where let's say a guy marries a woman and she's the quote unquote unicorn. He found his unicorn. Well, now you got to keep that unicorn away from single bitter women because if she gets a single bitter woman as a friend, that single bitter woman is going to do everything she can to ruin your marriage, to get her to cheat on you because misery loves company.
That's true.
And I can totally say from the marriage I was in, it was going to fail eventually, but she started hanging around a daughter of Belial, as I call him, a daughter of the devil, and that brought out the very worst, and that accelerated the destruction of the marriage. Because as far as I'm convinced, it was going to fail eventually. The rotten friend just helped fast forward the process.
Yeah, like, for example, I have a lady friend I've been dealing with, for quite a while now. And, but because it's already happened to me kind of twice, and I have that I don't care. Like, for example, if she stays, I'm cool. Mm-hmm. If she don't stay, I'm cool.
That's good.
There are times, where I say that's it, or she says that's it. I said okay, but then she always come back. She always come back, and
because you don't care.
Because I know, it doesn't. I don't know.
It's that old catch-22 thing.
Yeah. So it's like if she call, it's cool. If she don't, I'm fine.
All right. I heard this quote, and at first it's kind of hard to swallow, but it's true. He said, if you get with a woman, whether you're in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship or whether you're married, it's not that she won't cheat on you, but if she does cheat on you, you're strong enough to go through it, kind of thing.
Okay.
So he was basically saying you can't control whether they cheat or not, but you can control how you handle it, and you're strong enough to go through it and just drop her and go on with the rest of your life. Now, on one side, that's not very reassuring, is it? Mm-mm. But on the other aspect, it's totally true.
Yeah, like, just on that whole subject of divorce, I've heard too many horror stories, and that's enough to make me just stay away from it. Just completely stay away from it. Yes,
because you've never made that mistake of getting married.
Yeah, because there are two guys I actually work with. One guy was married to his wife for 30 years. Her mother died. She came home from all of that. Told him she wanted a divorce. Wow.
After 30 years, huh?
Yeah, had to give up half his pension and has to pay her health insurance for the rest of her.
So she's on easy street the rest of her life now.
Yeah. Then there's another guy married to his wife 40 years. They met in college. Wow. I mean, not college, high school. And 40 years.
Means nothing.
She ran off with someone else.
Yeah, there's no such thing as relationship equity. Like if you borrow money to loan or buy a house, over time you build up equity. That's unfortunately why I had to pay the ex-wife $400 to get the hell out of my house, because that's all the equity I build up. Because when you're paying out a loan, the first 3-4 years, all you're doing is paying interest. So the actual loan, the principal, we rarely paid anything on that. And that's cool because I didn't have to pay her nothing to get the hell out of my house.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting at is there's no equity in a relationship with a woman. The longer the relationship goes, the more it favors the woman, not the man.
Yeah. And just, going back on my ex, the reason I'm so passionate about this because like I said, I've been through it, so I know. But there was a time, in particular, we went to a party, and her mother figure was there, so I figured it's cool. I can go home.
Mm-hmm.
And but then later, another friend that was there said that a group of guys showed up there, and she was about to and she went and got in the car with these guys.
Wow.
And her mother figure had got in her car and followed them to a liquor store, and snatched her out of the car and told her, "What are you doing? Do you know that if he came back here and seen this, what he would think?"
So she's in a relationship with you, but she gets in a carload with guys.
Yeah, with a bunch of guys. But it just, and that's what I'm saying. I guess the thing that made me so angry, was that she just out there like that.
Yeah.
With just total disregard for my health because, we were in a relationship, so I didn't use protection.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I thank God that I actually walked away from it. I didn't get no kind of STD. I mean, but she was loose. She was loose. Because I recall, another friend of the family, used the example, if she stood on top of a tall, building and in front of a whole crowd of people, and someone said, whoever slept with this woman, raise your hand, and they say everybody in the crowd would raise their hand.
Wow. A notorious woman of the streets. Huh? No, it's risky because like I said, man, I understand why men want compassion, female compassion, because it brings out, it's supposed to bring out the best in men. Like if you go back in high school, if you look at football, basketball, even some schools for wrestling, they have female cheerleaders. Because a female cheering on a man motivates them to do better. Well, women know this, and they have coaches that coach them into what to do, to love bomb a guy the first few months, where they tell you the standard lines. Oh, I've never met nobody like you. You're the only one for me. I could never see myself with anyone but you. I mean, I guarantee you she's getting her back blown up by Tyrone if she's telling you that.
Yeah.
But a man wants to believe this, and going back to the ex-wife, I thought she left, the baby daddy to be with me. No, I was just a useful idiot at the time. A monkey brancher. So she just used me as a branch to swing up to then to try to swing to something better. But, now she's just become the pass-around girl for the company. Like her mom, who was a pass-around girl for the Hells Angels Bike Club.
Wow, so just a repeated pattern or something.
Generational curse.
Wow, okay. Because that was the other thing. When I met my girl, she was homeless.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Same with the ex-wife. It was a hobosexual. Okay. And come to find out, she only pushed to marriage because she needed a place to stay. That's all it was.
Yeah. Yep. Same thing.
And I learned that if she don't have her own house, she's going to fight, claw, and try to do her best to take your house from you and put you on the streets.
Wow. Yeah, I've heard too many horror stories, and then, the whole situation would happen to you.
Yeah.
And, it was so messed up because she had herself convinced that she was going to get this house.
Yeah.
She was convinced of that. I recall when, your daddy would have his encounters with her when he would talk on your behalf and, and he was dealing with her. And just, when you would tell me the feedback from all of that, that woman was convinced that she wasn't going nowhere.
Yep, absolutely. And see, the problem, men will say, well, not all women are like that. Whether that's true or not is irrelevant. Because once you get married, it's the same system that screwed over every divorced man is now it's going to screw you over. Oh, but she's not like that. It doesn't matter. All it takes is one rotten friend, one coach who, is a feminist and bitter toward women or men. And next thing you know, you're in the situation like I was or like other divorced men are. And then the thing is, you got to look yourself in the mirror and say, I put myself in this situation. It's because of me. I signed that. Nobody made me. Even though a manipulator will tell you what you want to hear, still, they can't make you do anything.
Okay, because I also had a question.
Okay.
Like there's another guy I work with, and him and his wife, they got a few kids together, but they got like 5, 6, 7 kids they adopted.
Wow.
So so if they were to divorce, he would pay child support for those.
Unfortunately, yes. Unfortunately, the woman, odds are, unless she's just out there, it's rare if a man gets full custody. Normally, the woman gets it. And if a man chooses to adopt a kid,
mm-hmm.
even if it ain't the woman's kids, let's say, because like the ex-wife had 3 kids, well, actually 4 from previous relationships, but one of them, she's trying to get me to adopt. And this is the one that all of a sudden started accusing, come to find out, the uncle was molesting her. But I thought it just came out of the blue, so I kind of distanced myself, because the way Uncle, they refer to him as Uncle Pervert. They said how Uncle Pervert started is it was just he brought correction to her. Supposedly she wanted to go over to her friend's house. He said no, and next thing you know, she's accusing him of touching her inappropriately. And I was like, well, if that's the case, I'm putting the stiff arm up, and I ain't going nowhere around that little girl. I'm not gonna be in the same room with her alone where it's her testimony against mine. Because even if it's a 12-year-old girl, her testimony still has more authority than yours as a man in the courts, unfortunately.
Uh-huh.
So if I think about it, and I actually did adopt that child, not only would I have adopted a psychopath like her mother, but then I would have to be paying child support on the kid that ain't even mine. So back to the guy who they had kids of their own, and you said they adopted 5?
5
okay.
6, something like that.
Well, guarantee you, the woman got the 5 adopted kids, so the guy's got to pay child support on those 5 adopted kids, even though the woman didn't actually give birth to them. That's just how the laws work.
Wow. So so even in your situation with your ex, she was trying to get you to adopt.
She was trying to get me to adopt her oldest daughter, because. How did she word? It would mean so much to her, or something like that. It's like, no, it would mean so much to you. And it was a sly trick to try to pull the wool over my eyes.
She was making sure she was going to get you.
And at the time, afterward, I was starting to wake up. I woke up in the middle of a miserable marriage of all places. And I was like, man, I'm going red pill. But then, now you're stuck in the marriage. Her name's attached on pretty much everything. It reminded me like an octopus with its tentacles just seeping slowly, creeping into every aspect of your life. That now when you go to cut her off, her name's on your your house insurance. Her name's on this. Her name's on your car insurance, and it's like you got to cut off the tentacles that the woman. And I was only married 2.5 years.
Man.
So she didn't get no alimony. She didn't get a lot of things. She didn't get the house she thought she was. But it's the system, and again, I stress that it's the system is man's enemy, not the women. The women just use what's available to them. And I don't hate on them, because back in my 20s, when, overweight white women were flirting with me and buying me stuff, I ate it up. I didn't tell them don't buy me no more energy drinks or that. But I knew I wasn't going to do nothing with them.
Okay, because another question. So when you do get married, do you also get her debt when you get married?
Absolutely.
Oh,
you
man.
become one. If she has $60,000 in student debt, that debt becomes yours.
Wow. Because I recall one time at work, we had a spokeslady come in, and she was telling her story about where she came from, had a rough upbringing, was in an abusive relationship, and then she met another guy. And she said that the guy, she knew nothing about debt or anything like that, and she had messed her debt up. So she said that this guy came in and he helped clean up her debt, but then he actually put credit cards and stuff in his name and would give them to her. And the first thing I thought of word was beta.
Yeah. He would put credit cards in his name and give them to her?
Yeah.
Why?
You know, I think that we're so convinced that, you know, say the women, you know, certain women we do get involved with, we're so convinced that they really, really do love us. And
True.
they really do care for us and want to see the best for us.
That's a great point, K-Dawg. It's like at times men, we're our own worst enemy.
Yeah, because, I mean, I fell for it twice.
Yeah.
You know, and in that first situation, the one we're talking about today, it was fortunate that, you know, she ran off and I went my way and that was it. You know, but the second time around, that wasn't the case. I mean, they done something that had lasting effects. That didn't just go away with me and her going our separate ways.
Because
So.
I couldn't imagine, what if you two were actually married? That would have been a nightmare.
Yeah.
Absolute nightmare. Like, all the hell you went through, multiply it by like 100-fold, and that's probably what it would have been like.
Yeah, and like I said, just that whole situation, what happened to you, you know, the whole part with the jail, and then I know that was mental torment to be in that jail cell, and you don't know if you're coming home to a house, if you're gonna even have a house.
Yeah, I when I was put in that situation, it was like I was looking down the barrel of a fully loaded shotgun pointed right at my face. And at that time, I realized why a lot of divorced men end up killing themselves. Because if the woman gets the house and all its contents, if the woman gets the kids, if you got to pay child support and, quote, spousal support or alimony, and all your money's going to her, and especially if she moves the guy she's cheating with in your house and you got to pay for it, a divorced man really don't have much to live for.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everything gone like that.
And the thing with the enemy is, the devil, is he'll take a mental picture of the lowest point of your life, like he did to me back in June of 2019, and then he shoves it in your face and says, it'll never get better than this, just get used to it. It's only going to get worse from here. And if you believe that, I see why a bunch of divorced men actually will murder themselves.
Yeah, yeah. You know, and just for me, you know, the fact that I would deal with a woman who I, you know, sort of knew was homeless, I had also, back then, I had low self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think it got no better. And I thought that that's as good as it was going to get. So just, you know, deal with it.
Uh-huh.
And like I said, I know guys who, there are numerous guys I know that got low self-esteem. So they suck.
And these predators can sense that.
Yeah.
Kind of like a shark senses blood, or a dog senses fear. The manipulators, they sense that weakness, that like, everybody wants to be accepted, but we should never compromise our morals, values, and beliefs for that acceptance.
Yes,
and a lot of men will compromise to get with a woman. Well, she already thinks less of you because you compromised. So that shows weakness right off the bat.
Yeah. You know, because it was like, I recall I was so devastated. I just walked the streets. Just walk, you know, I was all.
I mean, your whole world just came crashing down.
Yeah, and I ended up going over to my friend who told me not to get with her. And I said, I told him I didn't understand any of it. It just didn't make no sense, because I told him I did everything I was, you know, that I felt like I needed to do. I went out and had maintained a job, came home. I never ran the streets. I was always there. And him and his girlfriend both said the same thing. The reason why she cheated on me is because she didn't respect me. No matter about me doing all that stuff, no matter about me being loyal, any of that, some reason to me, just my own personal belief, that she saw my loyalty as a sign of weakness. And, you know, so her and my so-called friend, they're actually laughing at me for trusting her. Something that you're supposed to do in a relationship.
Yeah, you get punished. It reminds me of a quote with Tom Likas. He says, "No good deed goes unpunished" with today's women. And she didn't respect you, because I reminded of, as I listened to your story, I'm reminded of a story I heard yesterday where a guy marries a single mother, and she doesn't respect him. So the neighbor don't respect him. The neighbor ends up banging his single mother wife and getting her pregnant. So the baby's not even his. And it was all based on lack of respect. And you know why? It's because he was the beta male provider. You were the beta male provider. I was the beta male provider. What we were supposed to do. And we get punished for what we're supposed to do. The beta male provider doesn't get the best sex. It's the unemployed Chatter Tyrone who comes over wearing socks and flip-flops. He's getting her best. Yeah. It's and as a Christian, as we are, we can't be doing fornication because we don't inherit the kingdom of God that way. But for those who aren't, I say, well, you can't give her anything but the D, because if you give her anything else, you're never going to be able to give her that.
Yes.
Because you like a good example, like rich guys. Well, why don't you come to my house? I got 13 yachts and 4.5 million square foot and a tennis court. Well, all he's doing is showing himself as a beta male provider for this woman. So he ain't going to get no monkey double backflips or any of that. She'll keep doing those on guys behind his back, but he's now the main provider and source, so she's going to try to get him to sign a marriage contract, put in her time, and, if it's California and it's 10 years and 1 day, lifetime alimony. Lifetime alimony.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, brother.
Yeah, but, like I said, I've learned a lot. I mean, over the course of these years.
Yeah.
And just in those sort of two relationships I mentioned, I mean, that was, and it's sometimes that when you have to learn through sad experience, and it's not enough that a person can talk to you and tell you, not to do that. But also, even my friend told me not to get with her, but I didn't want to hear none of that. I mean, she seemed like a nice woman to me. She seemed like a, nice, caring person to me. So I decided not to take my friend's advice and got burned.
Huh. When you said you went to your friend after the thing failed, was he supportive of you, or was he like, I told you so?
Nah, he was actually supportive.
Okay.
Yeah, he really felt bad for me, and he actually helped me get back,
Okay.
I was at a low point.
Man, you would have been rough without him.
Yeah, I hit such a low point because...
and he knew from the beginning what she was all about.
Yeah, and he could,
Man.
I even apologized to him for, I said I should have listened to you, and he was like, nah, he said that, because he said he was happening to him, he's the same way.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, a lot of people got to learn the hard way, and that's a terrible way to learn, but at least we learn. Like I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. Without a doubt, getting married was the biggest mistake I ever made. If you put all the mistakes I ever made in my life combined, it still wouldn't equal getting married back in 2017. That was without a doubt the worst mistake I ever made in my life. And men don't get married because it, quote, will mean so much to the woman. Yeah, because she's getting your stuff now. That's why it means, and a lot of guys, most men don't want to be married, but they do it because they think it's what their woman wants. Okay. So they follow through with it, not knowing what they're getting themselves involved in, like I did. I didn't know nothing about alimony or any of that. Or I never would have did that.
Oh, wow, okay.
So I didn't know. I was learning about these things while I was locked up in jail. And all the guards there, the officers were saying, well, yeah, we see this every day, and here's how it's going to happen. This is going to go down, and this, and this, and this, and to the T, man. To the T, it happened just like they did. And she's going to be squatting in your house, and she's going to give all your stuff away to the new guy. That's exactly what happened to me.
Oh, wow, okay.
But the thing with the cops is, when a domestic violence, DV is called, they got to arrest somebody. Somebody's got to be taken downtown, so to speak. And even if it's, like I've told you this story before, but I've never told it recorded, is I had a friend who I was training him for my building because I was going to go to another one, and he said how his baby's mama used to, actually hit him in the face, closed fist, bam, Tyson style.
Oh, man.
So he calls the cops on her for domestic violence. The cops come, they don't even ask nothing, they grab him and throw handcuffs on him. And he's like, wait a second, she's the one beating me. And his line was, well, we got to arrest somebody.
Wow. Wow, okay.
So it's when a man accepts the fact that the system is designed to screw him over and keep him under the woman's thumb, it's like the casino. How do you win dealing with a casino? You just don't go in there because it's a scam. Uh-huh. Same with the marriage aspect. How does a man win dealing with marriage? You just don't get involved in it. Don't ever let the government, the state, get in your bedroom. I learned that, man. Uh-huh. And I'll testify that until the day I die. All right. So thank you, K-Dawg, for your time and sharing your personal story with us. I know it's not easy putting your stuff out there, but it helps people. And that's what helps me is I don't mind sharing my story. Yeah, I'll admit I was an absolute idiot back then. But I've learned. I've learned so much from them. And since that time, I can't tell you how many men I've talked out of getting married. And to me, that's a thrill because they don't have to go through that hell I did back in the summer.
Okay.
Any closing questions or comments or?
No, I think that's
all
it.
right.
I just,
Oh, I wanted to mention this too. You have started a YouTube channel or you're going to. But what is it? Have you're in the process of getting it going?
Yeah.
So when you do get that going, I'll feature your channel on mine. So hopefully some of my subscribers will trickle over your way. What kind of content would you be putting out on this YouTube channel?
Well, basically, I'll be discussing prophecy and
like biblical stuff. Very good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so that's something I wanted to talk to you about.
No, that's good, man. That's very good. Well, all right, K-Dawg. Thanks for the interview. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Yeah, and learn from K-Dawg's experience. Learn from mine. No such thing as a relationship equity, because in the end, brothers, you'll be the one screwed. Just like the casino, the odds always favor the house. Well, in marriage, the odds always favor the woman. So thank you and keep listening.